and thank you for stumbling into my small realm here in the weirdness. My name is Hailstone, and unfortunately for you, if you wish to leave, you'll have to sit back, relax, and lend me your ear for a time. I am not a practitioner of magic, a druid, necromancer, or some other magically aligned title. In fact, I am quite weak in the magical arts. All I am is a humble weird scholar who knows things he shouldn't and knows the shortcuts in and out of the weirdness, nothing more. In fact, it is my want for knowledge that has damned me to be tied to this realm. Or perhaps it could be even said that this realm is tied to me. It seems to fuel my every want and desire, giving me endless means to research and record my findings. Perhaps that is what it wants, and perhaps that is why it lets me out every once in a while. Though when it comes to the weirdness, it is hard to say. Though, in truth, I would hardly speak ill of my current situation, given the current conditions of the outside world of Avalon in general. Recently, I found myself north of the Horns of the South, in the lands of Kunant. I knew these lands as rich forests vibrant with life, though it seems a lot of it has been cut away, and the weirdness here has become rather unsettling. Though, in contrast, its fields were golden and ripe for harvest, meaning food and profit for some, and misery and death for others. Before the weirdness began its current encroachment, normally these fields would be full of farmers and their workers, harvesting the boundless wealth the season had brought with it, with children playing and darting through the fields, while the cattle malazed around, eating what was left. Now all that remains are haunted fields, toppled over buildings, and those strangled by the weirdness, just trying to harvest a few more bundles of wheat for their family, a scene long removed from a more joyous nature. Now, nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the weirdness. At one point, I heard someone say that the weirdness listens, but it never obeys. It's hard to define what the weirdness is in of itself. Some call it pure potential, others treat it and its products as a god. One thing I know for certain is that the weirdness has a strange yearning for life, and will sometimes bring things into being where there is absence. In these empty fields, one can feel that it is filled with a mockery of life, a twisted mischief born from the laughter of children, while their seemingly larger-than-life fathers would loom nearby, towering above the golden fields as they worked. With this, I speak of one particular pair of entities, the Strawchildren and their cobbled fathers. Unlike many other monstrosities of the weirdness, the Strawchildren tend to lack any real biology and seem to be nothing more than animated clumps of straw. These are often wound up into bundles that are barely 2 feet tall, with an array of various sticks that seem to protrude out from the bell of the creature, seeming to be or to act as arms. Though the most disturbing part of this entity is its head, which is typically a sun-bleached bovine skull, though this isn't an uncommon sight here, as the remains of cattle are often tossed out here as they are deemed useless. Those worn by the Strawchildren do not match typical specimens. In fact, the length of the skull has been shortened by a fair bit, with most of the teeth missing from the jawline, and instead have been arranged further into the mouth, mirroring something that could be almost found in an average human skull. Atop the skull is an additional hollow space that sits between the empty eye sockets, implying that whatever this creature was torn from had a ghastly set of 3 eyes, though I doubt it was ever truly alive. At this point, I assume that perhaps the weirdness was almost lonely, that it missed certain aspects of the typical harvest season, namely its populace that graced these fields. Or perhaps these are emanations of those that once maintained these fields left some form of impressions in the traces of the weirdness as they walked. Though, regardless of which one, once the weirdness is strong enough, these traces begin to stitch themselves together out of what was available. Bleached bovine skulls seem to be the preferred, if not the most plentiful option. It warps the skull, creating something human, twisted from the inside of the skull of the cow. Then the weirdness fashions a body, latching the dead matter of the skull, attaching it to a body made of straw bundles and sticks. And once this is done, a small fragment of life infuses itself into the husk, one that is tethered together from the most skewed understanding of children and their mischief. Commonly, these creatures are referred to as straw children. They know no need for nourishment, warmth, or shelter. They are vicious predators of the wheat fields during the harvest season for those unfortunate enough to be caught out in it. They skitter through the fields quick, mobbing anyone they come across and jabbing them with their sharp, stick-like arms, causing intense bleeding and terror. And for those who cannot flee, the straw children will cruelly poke and stab at the corpse until it stops moving, before shuffling off board and into the field once again, looking for something else to either entertain themselves and cause mischief with before they vanish with the end of the harvest season. Under normal circumstances, I would assume that this would be the entirety of their being. Yet, there seems to be something else related to them, something that they almost seem to respect and look up to. Deep within the traces of the weirdness, there is a yearning, another misunderstanding of children, a misunderstanding of something that was always taller than them, a parent, a father. Though rare, there is often another creature of the weirdness that often finds itself among these children of the fields, and that is the Strawfather. Upon first appearance, it is a large lumbering beast covered with straw clinging to it like fur, giving the appearance of an unfettered beast staring down its prey. It stands at twice the height of a man, hunched over with long, thin arms that nearly drag across the ground. Though there is something far more disturbing about this creature than just an animated behemoth of straw, as barely below the straw, bleached skulls peer out into reality along with several protruding spires of undiscerned bone. Beneath the straw lays an abomination of bone, flesh, and weirdness. Several bone spires stick out like the grossest tusks from the head of a beast, with others sitting in an array around the rest of the figure. The bleached skulls are now laid bare, stuck deep and warped together into a base of minced flesh. As well, a lone ribcage often sticks out from the bottom of the chest meat. From the chest flesh, the overall form quickly degenerates from what little human anatomy it had left. Its arms are hard to discern the bone itself from its very flesh, ending in a 5-fingered set of flesh-rending claws. The fingers alone are more than twice the length of the palm itself, and the surface almost gives off a scaled appearance. And for some reason, there's an odd assortment of budding horns located on its right arm. The legs of the creature hold a very similar and human appearance, except for the feet that have fused together and have become almost hoof-like in appearance, though definitely not one from a cow or similar beast. I could easily surmise that this beast is nothing more than another emanation of the weirdness, but it is possible for it to have, say, a non-weird catalyst, by which I mean it formed without the total influence of the weirdness itself. One possibility is that it's a further metamorphosis of the Straw Children, perhaps. Once soaked in enough blood and weird tainted materials, a straw child might fuse with the skeletons of nearby victims, turning into a towering Strawfather. Another possibility is one that looks a little bit more into the straw child itself, and it is also one that gives it a little bit more autonomy. It is entirely possible that there is far more to a straw child's mischief, and it may be the fact that this childish imitation has been mistaken on our part and is indeed something far more predatory, something far more along the lines of ill intent that rests in their actions, as they are geared to kill and draw blood, but perhaps not to eat. Perhaps instead the straw child kill, then make off with what bodies they can gather, whether it's those who are weird touched or those they kill themselves. Regardless, over time, they slowly pile up these bodies, tearing them apart and reassembling them in a misunderstood manner, trying to create a father figure, or just a scarecrow. Just something that is tall and familiar, but they are not really sure why. Though, regardless of their origins or yearnings, unlike many creatures of the weirdness, these creatures are quite fleeting, as when the harvest season departs and winter settles in, the straw family also departs, perhaps waiting for the next season or for the yearnings of the past to return to what they were once more.